Hello, all. It has been quite some weeks since I posted anything. I received in the mail Tarot de Marseilles, the Gasman from Los Scarabeo. So, this one you're all familiar with it. I'm not going to do a walkthrough. I might at some point. This might end up being a walkthrough. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how it goes. I'm playing this by ear, but I kind of have an idea of what it solidified today. Actually, when this came in, I started looking at it, and I was looking at the cards. Something clicked, and I was like, that's what I want to share with people. My journey with this Marseille. I've got deck number 3,824 of 3,999. I think it's hilarious they did that and just didn't do 4,000. But I love it. I love it. I would love to be the person that got 3,999. That would have been like, if I had anything else that could have gone. I got lucky because this one was on sale on Amazon for just over $20. And I said, well, I'll just go ahead and get it. And normally they're around 35, I think. So about 30% off, I think. So I was very lucky because I wasn't going to get it because in the pictures that I've seen and some of the walkthroughs, the cards this looks better to me in person. But to me, the background looked dark. And I don't know if it's the same for you. If you go to Amazon and look at the pictures or look online at the pictures, they look darker than they actually are. And I didn't want a really dark back. I wanted a natural color background. This is still just a tiny bit darker than I would like it, but it has that natural sort of paper look to it, which I like. It's a regular sort of cardstock. It's matte, sort of like a matte finish, not solidly matte. It has a coating, but it's not shiny. But it's nice. And it's interesting because the deck feels really thick, but the cards are not, and they bounce. They're just. I wish. If there was a cardstock that people use for decks, that cost around $30, this would be one of them that I would love. It's like, just do everything in this, and the box too. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So much for it not being a review, huh? So along with Simon and the Hermit's Cave. And then along with watching Kelly Bear's videos, I became more interested in the Tarot de Marseille. I was like, well, why don't I look at this deck? Why don't I appreciate it? And then putting everything together that everyone was saying, it made me very interested. So that being said, I watched... Kelly Bear has a video on her channel, and it might be something like Introduction to Tarot de Marseille or Tips and Guides, where she talks about her practice a little bit. She also makes some wonderful book recommendations, and then she recommends some websites, different people who have videos on how to read the Tarot de Marseille, and it's just it's very well done, and I highly suggest, even if you don't ever want to read the Tarot de Marseille, to look for that video. It'd be very easy to find. Kelly, you could type in something like Kelly Bear, Tarot de Marseille, learn, just 3 words like that, and it should pop up. I will put the link if I find it in the comments. Maybe I can link it onto the video. Don't know quite how to do that yet. All right. Then in that video, she recommended Tom Benjamin's Tarot on Earth. So I ordered it. Tom Benjamin's Tarot on Earth. Tom Benjamin, his videos are great too. So she's he's one of the video recommendations she makes, as well as the book. This book, just so you know, it's not one you're going to sit down and read straight through. It is a workbook. It helps you understand the layout of the cards, and then it is up to you to use the tools he has in here for you to intuit your own meaning or own sort of guide meanings for the cards that you will then draw from to enhance your intuition. What he did not want to do was give you a list of set meanings. And I love the way he said this. He didn't want to give us a set meanings because he knew that no, he doesn't know me, but I would be one of those people that would take his list and start memorizing it. But this way it opens it up to you having to find meaning, but knowing where to start. What do the images mean? What do the cards themselves represent as far as what is actually happening in the picture? And then you take the basic framework of the information he gives you, and then you cultivate that information and develop your own sense of what these cards are saying to you. And then, of course, it's based on the tarot. The other book I did get was Yoav Ben Dov's Discovering the Tarot de Marseilles. So I got the Spanish version, but very good book as far as how that goes. Now, there is one that I did not know was somewhat controversial, is Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Way of the Tarot. Not the book, but himself. I understand that there's some personal issues in his life. But Yoav Ben Dov was a student of his. I had ordered this book way before I found out more information, and I did a quick internet research thing, and I see why. I understand why, but I already had the book. I do think it is a good book. I do agree with most of the critics out there that say it is difficult to follow the thought process, the thinking, but reading little bits at a time, especially on the numerology, was very interesting. Maybe one day I'll do a video just on that. But on with the show. So, the Tarot de Marseilles. Having read those in and out over the past few months, having watched videos, having tracked everything, today when I received this, you know what? Let me turn the camera around, put the cards out, and then I can tell you what clicked in my head. And I'm back. Oh, excuse me. So, what clicked for me today? Base 10 numerology. Technically, what I've learned is to use 1 through 9. And then, because when you come back to 10, 10 is a combination of 1 and 0. Enough of that. I won't go too much into numerology because that's a rabbit hole. But it'll give you some idea of how it works and how it connects to the Tarot de Marseilles. It also connects to all the other systems as well, but especially so in the Marseille because you have pips. You know, this would be handy for any pip deck. But what clicked for me with the Marseille this time? I'm just going to take the majors off for now, and I might do a walkthrough of this one at some point. But right now, I'm going to just go through some of the pips because I don't want this to be too long of a video. It is already after 9, and I have to get up at 5:15. And I have a 45-minute commute, which is not bad, actually. I actually enjoy the quiet by myself. I can listen to, I usually listen to either a podcast, a video, just listening to the video, or it'd be weird if I was watching it while I was driving, or, what is it? Podcast, or a book on, audiobook. My goodness. Which is very much like a podcast. Okay. If my volume is not quite right, I apologize. I don't have my microphone I had before, and I'm getting another one. And I wasn't expecting to do this tonight, but it just hit me what I wanted to say. So one, going back to the major arcana, The Fool is 0. The point has just come into existence, and he needs to move from that space he occupies, or change that space he occupies. So it is 0 is the infinite possibility and potential based on which direction the Fool goes, which path he takes. So that's the idea of 0. And if someone has a better way to say it, please leave it in the comments. Some of these concepts are some of the concepts are felt, and then finding words to describe the essence of the feeling that you have around something is sometimes difficult. But it's one of those things, if you know, you know. So if you have a better way to say it, please let me know. But 0 is possibilities. What direction they're going to go. 1 is we're being offered that possibility. And it hit me today when I looked at this. This cup is different to me. I've seen Marseille decks before. But this cup, when I first saw this, I thought immediately pregnancy, because it has this sort of like, to me, it looks like it's bulging in the center, and it's coming out in 3 dimensions toward us. So to me, it looks as if it's growing on the inside. It's like there's so much in here that it's growing, so it's the beginning. We have the infinite possibilities here, and then into the possibilities of emotion, love, life in the cups, passion, and that could be my passion for art, my passion for music, my passion for a person, but it's just pregnant with this passion. So then we have the 2, and this is where it gets interesting for me. So if you notice, there's some growth down here, some vegetation. It's very low. But then in 2, well, now someone else has joined the party, or some other idea or some fruition of my passion has joined me. And now there are 2, and we can reflect off each other. But this creates this connection that brings the beginnings of life here, some activity. These, I believe they're supposed to be dolphins, but some type of aquatic life springing forth from the water, cups, of course, flowing. So that 2 there, and there's this central column here connecting what I'm going to say, and I don't know if it's sure what the intention is, but connecting the below to the above, and a straight path, a spine, as this card is like sitting straight up, direct, supported completely. And then we get to the 3. So in numerology, the 3 is a little disruptive. So if you think about the RWS system and the 3 of Cups, or any 3 of Swords, 3 of Cups, there's some sort of disruption. So whatever, and that's going to come from the question, the feedback from the person that's asking the question, the inquirer. It's going to come from the setting, the mood, your intuition as to what this disruption is. So there's no one way to say like, well, this card definitely means just this. But we know it's going to be around emotions and flowing energy. And then we know it's going to be, it started in 2s, but it's been disrupted somehow. And disruption doesn't always have to be negative. It's just something is going to throw this out of balance, because you had 2 perfectly balanced. You had a 3rd. Now one's going to be more than the other, or vice versa. Or it's going to be on the edge of these 2 forming a triad. And they're like, well, how does this fit in? Because that's going to make us heavy on one side. So it's that sort of thought process. But if you look at this, we had this straight column here. But now, because that third one's there, the column has been disrupted. That column is no longer able to go straight up and support. It's broken here. And it creates two streams of life, thought, action, competing actions. Maybe it's a choice that has to be made. But it's so that's what clicked to me today when I started looking at these images, because I never understood how this fit in. And then it just goes from there. If you look at the fours, that's going to give us 2 and 2. These by themselves are stable. There's a spine straight through. These by themselves are stable. Spine or column straight through. The 4 together go together like a Lego. And there's a straight column. They're very basic. They're very sturdy. When you see a 4 like this, the way I've heard it told is think 4 legs on a table, 4 walls of a house. And it's very stable because there's not just one up here, there's 2 now. So it's going to balance out these 2. So now the card is balanced. And then if we look at the 5 again, what happens when we put a 5th one in there? We break the spine again. Now we're going back. There's a divergence here, and it finally comes back together. But if you're doing this sort of like as a what might happen thing, then maybe you're going to, I don't know, apply for a new job. And then maybe you hear back and say the report's good, and then they call back and say, well, maybe we can't quite hire you yet. And then maybe at the end of that, there is some progress in your new job position, whether somewhere else or at the same place. But there's this disruption. So it's still going to build, it's still going to move forward. Or this end result could be something completely different as to what disrupted here to bring this change about. Then we have 6. Once again, we have balance. We have 3 and 3. And look at the center. It's also becoming more stronger. The more energy there is from the cups, the more cups there are to supply that energy, the more elaborate the column comes, the more strength it has, but it's also balanced. And then when we get to the 7, disruption again. It breaks it into 2 streams. And this one is interesting because it doesn't come back together up here. So depending on the querent, depending on the question, depending on the mood, depending on the intuition you have based on all that information coming together, that's what we're left with. And then the 8. So the 8 is balanced because you have 4 and 4. You have 3 and 3, and then 2 in the center. Maybe the 2 is the balancing between the 2. It's the center balance. But look what happens here with the 8. You have a blooming flower now. But not only is it blooming, it's whatever is going on with these cups is also producing something off to the side here. It's not cut off. They're still connected to the spine. It's not split. It's not splitting the spine in 2. It's connected to the spine of the card, but now it's doing something that is overflowing, producing something either for yourself that you've invested in, not in a monetary sense because this is cups, but it's more than, and that's how I look at that. Then the 9, odd number, disruption, somehow, some way, in some manner or form, because we have 3 groups of 3, and the 3s are unbalanced. And if you had 2 sets of 3 and a 3, that's unbalanced. And then look at this. You don't even start from a good spine. From here, you're already starting from 2 different points. It comes back together, And there's something here holding it together, trying to hold it together, but it still breaks free and comes up again there. So there's a lot of movement going on through here. 2 separations, 2, 2, and 2 on each side. There's a lot. So once again, depending on the question, the querent, the mood, the background information, all that, it's wonderful. Then finally we have the 10, the culmination. Okay, so 10. 10, if you look at this picture, and this is only about my loose interpretations of well, some very basic interpretations of the numbers based on Pythagorean numerology and the card pictures. The card images are what hit me today, because if we look at the 10, we have 3 columns straight in a row. And then over the column, we have a cup. But I look at this almost like in one of the Greco-Roman doorways, where you have arches, and then I forget what the piece is called, a cornice, but it has that decorative piece over the doorway. To me, that's what this is. So not only are the columns solid, is this solid, but it's strong enough to hold another weight on top, and that weight to be decorative. So there was whatever time has been invested in this has lent its structural support to this idea, this feeling, this passion, to the point where now it is successful. And then I won't talk about the court cards too much. To me, those meanings don't change. I will do maybe a walkthrough, or maybe one day when I'm talking about card meanings, we'll look at that. But I really want to go look at the pips and just see. Now, the conversation for the rest of the pips would be similar. So what I'm going to do now is just go through, do a flip through of the minor arcana cards and show you what, this is what I clicked with me today. And like, I feel like I could actually read with the Marseille today, as opposed to drawing a card, looking it up, writing about it, that sort of thing. And then as I read with it, as I practice, of course, the tuition with the Marseille will grow like it did with the RWS, and then it'll become second nature, which is, when that happens, is really nice. We had the Pentacle, Spark, the beginning, the first seed of whatever this is, but look at all the energy around it. The 2, I always looked at the 2 of Pentacles like a gear. I was thinking about this as 2 gears, and this is the drive belt. So they're very balanced. There's some activity. It's going well. And then what happens with the 3? Boom, it splits. The 4, back in balance. Not only is there a straight spine now, but there's more growth in the center. And then 5. This is really dramatic for the Pentacles. But going from the 4 to the 5, we see it's almost like a drought. It's like there is a real blockage here, and nothing is growing in this center. So once again, we have the split, the spine's broken, and then it comes back to the top. The 6, 2 things converging in the center. What I'll look at when I think about this, and how I explain this, because it starts off separated, is that this wasn't broken. This is how it started, so that's fine. It comes together to form a solid central spine. I'm looking at the middle of the card. And if I think about chakras, if I think about the middle pillar from the Tree of Life, if I think about where we feel things, this is that, if this was the head and this were your feet, this is that center part where, like, when you're really happy, when you're really sad, when you're feeling whatever your feels are, it's that sort of, that gut instinct is what I call it, because that's where we would say our gut is, in the middle, right there of our torso. So I look at that, and that's where I correlate that center with, if this were a body, I would say head, feet, center of torso, gut feeling. This is intact, it's solid, it's sturdy, and that tells me if there's a disruption or not. So no disruption here. Here, right where that center is, it splits. So something happened here. Once again, solid column, back to the 9s. Something hit me right in the gut. I don't know what. And then the 10. The 10 strung all the way through. A beautiful bloom. And there's one thing here I did want to show you, point out to you. On the even numbers, if you notice, these are the plants actually look a little bit better, I think. Well, maybe not. But they're larger. See, the flowers are larger. These have more growth, and what's growing is actually thriving better. So that's that. Page. Knight. Queen, king. Wands. Wands, batons. I always love this. The coins are deniers. Love that. I do want to learn French. I'll be 59 next month, and I really don't care. In fact, I tell all my friends and family, it's like, you know, my life has gotten better every year I have lived. So I say, bring it on. You know, I'm just like, I'm ready to be 60, 61. I'm not going to wish my life away, but seriously, every year has gotten better. And I mean that from a place in my heart that is real. I'm going to stop now because I'm going to get, but anyway. So we have the 2. Now this is going to be different because most of the batons and the swords cross in the center. But what we're looking at here now is what's coming out of that center. 2 really nice leaves. And the flowers. Here we still have the leaves, but something blocked the flowers from growing. All right, now we're back in balance, and we've broken those up into two woven sections. And that gives us room for the flowers again because there's balance. Disruption again, our blooms are gone. 6, we're balanced. But not only we're balanced, we've grown. And look at the growth there. 7, central spine again. So it's interesting if you look at these. 8, flowers are larger. There's more, a little bit, what don't know if you call it, more intricate, but a more regal decoration here on the sides. But, excuse me, but flowers. Back to the 9, nothing, completely blocked. And these actually look like, these side ones actually look like they're not prospering at all, even with just the leaves here. These are very, yeah, they're just not prospering. They're not flowering like the other ones in a healthy manner. And 10. 10, we see 10 is balanced, but it's also complete. This might be a gateway that you would have to enter, but at least there's a way in. But what do you need to unlock to get in it? The 9, there's not a gateway. It's just a block. But you could see this like a gate, and these being the gate, and that would be where the gate would open. And then there's these beautiful regal sort of decorations. So I could see this on a fancy fence in front of a older building or a wealthy home or something like that. And back to the prince, the queen, king, swords. Once again, burst of newness. And then we have the 2 in the center. Beautiful. Now the 3 gets interesting because now we don't have the large leaves. We don't even have the medium leaves. We have very tiny leaves. The sword has come in and really just cut that center out. 4, back to balance. A huge growth. I think of this one, if you think of the 4 of Pentacles from the RWS system, this could have been an idea that went into action that has been sort of like, you've been working on this idea for a while, you've been developing it, maybe it's at work, maybe it's at home, who knows? You're designing something, I don't know. But it's like, okay, it's bloomed. It's ready for you to do something with this flower. So what have you been working on that you've got sort of like held on to that long enough for it to bloom? And you need to do something with it before the fifth sword comes in, takes that space and cuts it off. So there's that. 6, once again, could be sort of the same take. Like I say, the question, the querent, the mood, the energy, the intuition that you have based around the question. We all know swords are air, and then with the addition of the number and the way the image looks is where your intuition is going to kick in and where you're going to get your meaning. But I just wanted to point out how I've gone from, I don't read the Tarot de Marseilles because it doesn't have any images. It just has swords and wands and that sort of thing. And I don't know numerology. Well, the number part wasn't that hard to figure out. Still figuring it out. It's probably like reading tarot. I will always be learning something new. But then when I saw this deck tonight, and I'd seen Tarot de Marseilles before, I've got one. It never clicked on me what these images were actually doing. And then here we have the 10. Not only is the growth limit, well, there's no growth here. None. And there are 2 swords crossed. So there's no getting through. So that was my take on reading the pips. My epiphany this evening when I was looking through these. These are just beautiful cards. I will do a walkthrough of these. But I'm going to stop there tonight because it's been a long video already. I'll probably go back and trim some of this. But I just, when it clicked in my head tonight, what I was actually looking at, and that the progression in the pips do tell a story from the support, the center support, the blockage, to growth being allowed, balance, along with air, water, fire, earth. That was a really good feeling, and I wanted to share that in case anybody else was having difficulty trying to figure that out.